It's time to enter the J-Weekly Canada studio. Today, we welcome special guest Ronan Israelski. Ronan is the host of Perspectives TV, an online Jewish current affairs program in Hebrew. He is also a prolific filmmaker with numerous accolades under his belt. His recent documentary called 3 Days in October revisits the October 7th massacre in Israel.
It's great to see you. I have to apologize to you.
No, you don't.
I do. I made up my mind last night. I said I'm going to start the interview with, and your wife is here watching, so all the more so. I'm sorry that I abused your husband last time he was on my show.
Look.
Listen, no.
We
You're
disagreed.
Not no.
It wasn't a fight or an argument. We disagreed. Because I told you, when was it, 3-4 years ago? I told you that a Holocaust can happen again.
Before we get to that, I do believe in apologies. I believe in the power of apologies. We have 130,000 people watching a week, and I want to send this message to them. Guys, let's watch a clip of that interview when he was, this was season number 2, and he was promoting his amazing film, The Day I Met Hitler. And he was in the studio, and I was grumpy, I was edgy, I was punchy, And here is a clip from that interview right now.
Oh my God.
To them I say that not knowing the facts and not knowing how the Second World War started, and more than that, how that evil, mad person, Adolf Hitler, managed to conquer the hearts of ordinary people and make them into monsters. Not knowing how he did it, that's irresponsible.
Because they say, wait a minute, this guy is humanizing these evil creatures. It's irresponsible, especially for a Jew to do that. Yeah. It's the worst sin. To them, you say what?
Okay, so that...
You had to remind me this,
I like that. Now...
Apologies accepted.
You accept my apology.
I accept your apology, even though you don't owe me an apology.
Okay. Because I was a little bit rude. I could have said things a little more constructively. It was your first time on my show.
Yeah.
And we hadn't, I think that was the first time we met. So as
probably
from the standpoint of Jewish hospitality, I should have been nicer. I
enjoyed it. It was okay. It was challenging, and I enjoyed it. Well, and I got a lot of feedback afterwards from the street.
Hey, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
But today, I would say the tone is so much different because we have important things to talk about. We're going to talk about your new film. I just saw it last night with my dad.
Wow.
And we watched it together. And wow, you always do it, buddy. You always do it. You're able to get to the, what do we say in Hebrew? Pshat? Is that good?
To the core?
The pshat. And it's just pure emet. You know? You get there to the heart. And but I want to start because the viewers don't know you so well, my viewers, and I want to start you off from the beginning. Here you are, this amazing filmmaker, an Israeli living in Canada, but I want to start from the beginning because, you know, the artist's journey is always fascinating to me, like how an artist finds his way, and when he realizes early on in his life that I'm in the art of it. I'm in for the art of it. I want to be in film and television. I want to tell stories. That's what my life is going to be about. When did you realize that? Like, was it high school?
It was very young age. I think about 13 or 14. At my bar mitzvah video, I drove the cameraman crazy because I was only interested in his camera. I wasn't interested in the guests or the ceremony. I film me now. Let me do this. Let me do that. I actually went to his house the day before to see what camera he's going to work on, and then the day after to do the editing together. So I was always interested in photography and filmmaking. I had a neighbor at our neighborhood where we lived. I had a neighbor who was a camera
where
in
were
Tel
you
Aviv.
Living? So you're in Tel Aviv.
I was born in Tel Aviv. Correct.
Oh man, true Sabra here.
Yeah,
the
Sabra.
Holy
Thorns,
land.
But sweet inside.
That's right. The Holy Land, and so you're born there. And when do you get the bug for cameras and storytelling?
I think I always had it. I mean, my first memory of a camera in my life was when I was about 6 years old, my dad went to buy a Polaroid camera. Polaroids were really fashionable during the late 70s.
Yeah.
And we go to the store, and he asks the seller which camera I should buy, and the seller shows him a Polaroid camera, and he calls the boy, me. He's like, stand over there, I'll show your dad how it works. And he takes a picture, and he calls me over, and he says, just blow air on it. And I was like, why? You know, he said, just blow some air on the photo. And I'm going, and I go like that, and suddenly a fade comes up, and I start to see my image there. And it was like magic. And that's my first memory of being interested in that world.
I wanted to talk to you now, Ronan, about your recent film, 3 Days in October.
Yeah.
Another amazing film in your portfolio is expanding with amazing projects, and this is just another one of them, but it brings us to a very difficult topic. And I haven't broached this topic on the air until today. I want you to know that, because I think the main reason was I wasn't quite sure how to, and I wanted to do it in the most sincere and earnest way, responsible way. And then your film comes along. I watched it last night with my dad, and it chronicles the events of this horrible tragedy and massacre, to use a few words. Tell me how you jumped into action.
Yeah.
Because you actually went right to Israel. I don't know how. It was a few weeks after.
Yeah. October 7, 2 a.m., I'm in bed. My phone starts ringing. I get text messages from family and friends in Israel saying, Ronan, there's a huge mess. War just started. Now, my son is serving in the IDF as a lone soldier, as a warrior in Golani, and they're right on the border. And I know that they're on the border of Gaza. First thing I tell myself is, he's probably there. He's probably... And you know how everything came up on Telegram and on internet, all those horrible videos?
Yeah.
And in one of those videos, I could recognize his base. I could actually see where the base, and I see bodies of soldiers dead. And the first thing I did, I never actually talked about it, but the first thing I did, I went to the living room. My wife was still sleeping. My other sons were still sleeping. I went to the living room, and I just said, Shema Israel. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And I prayed in my heart that the Lord, that God will look over my son, because he's there. I text him, he doesn't answer. Took him hours to reply because he was in combat. And then a few hours later, he sent me a video of him in an outpost, guarding an outpost, and I see the time, 6:30 a.m., and all of a sudden you start hearing booms and missiles falling, and bullets whistling right next to his head. And I see the video, I see my son there, and that was the moment that I told my wife, there are two options. One option is me just losing my mind at home from concern and anxiety, and the other option is that I do something creative about it, fly to Israel and try to do something. I didn't know if I have a movie yet. I thought I'm going to have like a small story or a short story. I immediately contacted some very good friends that I have here in Toronto, because you know, a movie is something that needs its resources. I told them my idea. I want to go to Israel as soon as possible, start documenting this crazy thing that is... I immediately understood that we're talking about history is being written right now. I understood that. So I received their support. I flew to Israel, and it took me about 2 weeks of filming to actually understand that I have a film here and not just like a 10-minute story for tonight's news. And that was the day that I went to the south, to Kibbutz Be'eri and to the Nova Party site. Because I was busy interviewing people, generals and military personnel and public figures in Israel. Every day I had interviews. I had a studio in Tel Aviv. And there was one day that I had nothing to do, and I called Revital, my wife, and I'm like, I don't have anything to shoot today, to film today, because this guy canceled, so I'm going to stay home. And she's like, no, use this time, drive south. You haven't been south yet. You're just filming in Tel Aviv, go south. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. I took the car. I drove south. Now, on the way south, there were missiles already. I was literally driving the road south, and the siren went on, and I had to stop on the side of the road, and I could see in my own eyes missiles crossing the horizon. And I was like, okay, I'm in a war zone right now. I got to Be'eri, kibbutz Be'eri, one of the kibbutzes that was heavily attacked. They wouldn't let me in because I said, I'm a journalist. I showed them no, you have to arrange it in advance. Okay, thank you very much. But I'm Israeli, chutzpah, you know. So I waited at the gate. Suddenly I see a bus with American tourists. And I started to talk to their guide. Their guide was an Israeli woman. You saw the film now. And I told her, look, I'm from Canada. I didn't have time to arrange this. Can you help me maybe get in? She said, yeah, of course, you can join our tour.
מאז השבת השחורה, הקיבוץ הפך ליעד מבוצר. אין נכנס ללא אישור, נגמשים מאבטחים את הכניסות. קבוצה של יהודים אמריקאים מגיעה לסיור בהריסות. לאן שלא מביטים רואים רק הרס וחורבן.
They just took over this kindergarten and made it a headquarter of terrorism.
אנחנו יורדים מהאוטובוס כדי לפגוש את יואב, בן הקיבוץ, חבר כיתת הכוננות בבארי.
So what happened to you?
I've been with my family in the shelter. And we understood, yes, in my parents' house, 69 and 65, okay. And with my big sister. We understood that about 10 that there are terrorists in our neighborhood. Very, very scary, you know, scary of death, terrifying, and feel like you can do nothing. I think it was about 11. We're there outside, and we are here that they are trying to get into the home. My father get out from the mamad. We yell at him, tell him, what do you want to do? You could do nothing. You are with a small pistol, they will kill you. You can do nothing. And then we hear a gun shot from the living room. They are trying to get in, and he saw him through the window and shot him from inside the house twice out to the window. Injured one of them at least, and there was 3 or 4, and left away. They didn't come back. They have murdered my neighbor, Narkis. They burned her home.
So as a filmmaker,
yeah,
you are producing this incredible film about this this attack, which, as you said, will never be forgotten. And what changes inside of you as a human being, as a Jew, and lastly, as a filmmaker?
I'll start with the most important change as a Jew, before the filmmaker and all that, you know, as a Jew. Because you're a Jew and our viewers are probably Jewish.
Many of them are. We have, I want to point out, we have a large non-Jewish audience, and we appreciate you and we welcome you, yeah, because they've been very supportive of this program. But yes, first as a Jew.
First as a Jew, I mean, I was always the Zionist, and I was born in Israel, and I served in the army. I sent my children. My father was a Holocaust survivor, so I'm absolutely aware of our history. I'm aware of it. I'm educated. I know our history. But when you live your everyday life, I don't want to say you forget, but you hope for the better. You know what I mean?
Right,
you hope
right.
for the better. And especially after the Oslo agreements, you know, we thought that our neighbors want to live in peace with us. I think after October 7th, what happened to me is very similar to what happened maybe to you too, and maybe to our Jewish viewers. It's two things. First of all, we understood that if we don't rely on each other, we have no chance. No chance. We might as well go back to the ghettos. We might as well stand in line back in the gas chambers. If we don't rely on each other, if we don't trust each other as Jews, then really we have nothing to look for anymore. That's it. We can close this whole Israel thing. Because what brought us to October 7th was the division that happened in Israel, and also in Toronto within the Jewish community to a certain extent. We understood that if we don't unite, there is no future for Israel, the Jewish homeland, and there's no future for us, basically. Now, I'm describing here something that is not. It's not like October 7th happened. Boom! All of a sudden, you realize, no. It's gradual. It takes time, and unfortunately, we understand it more as the war continues. There are 3 films about the war. There's the Nova movie, which a lot of people saw. I saw it. It's very well-made artistic film. Yep. There's The Screams Before Silence, which I found a bit hard to watch because it's so graphic. Yep. And there's my film, which does not have any graphic images, and that was an editorial decision. It's not by chance. Yeah. Because when I started the editing process, all graphic images were out there on the internet. I mean, the pregnant woman and the two boys with their father, and Noah Gamani being kidnapped, and all those horrific images. And when I sat in the editing suite and started to reconstruct my materials, the obvious was to bring all those graphics and to put it in the film. But then I thought to myself, I was like, why do I need it? Do I need to shock anyone? I think everyone's shocked enough.
I think it was.
Do I need to remind anyone? I think everybody remembers.
I think it was a fabulous artistic decision and a great editorial decision, to be honest with you, because like you said, I don't think we needed the images, but what we needed was the heart.
Exactly.
The heart.
The heart and the analysis.
Which was, the analysis, the resiliency, and the unity, because your movie unites Jews together.
Yeah, different Jews from different opinions, as you saw in the movie.
That's right.
There's people from the far right, far left, middle, everywhere. Where were you on October 7th? How did you receive the news?
I was with my brother and a friend. My friend Tim actually called me, and he told me about it. I think it's a moment that is going to be seared into every Jew's mind,
heart and mind,
and heart and soul.
Yeah.
And I was telling my dad this, and I think other Jews that are in my age group will definitely identify with this, because we heard stories from our grandparents our whole life, right?
From
the pogroms and all these horrible.
And we thought they're exaggerated in the mirror of time.
I always hoped. My grandmother told me these stories, and I listened, but I always secretively hoped in the back of my mind that she was embellishing something or exaggerating something, or and
it was hard for you to internalize.
And I couldn't internalize it, but then we had this sobering wake-up call that what she was saying was no joke.
Yeah.
And it's an eternal truth that a Jew is a Jew.
Yeah.
And that we must endure, and that the hatred lives on whether we like it or not.
Or whether we see it or not.
And it's up to us, in our own way, whatever way we can. We're in the media. We can do it our way. Somebody else does it their way. There's a million ways to do it, but we must stand up, we must educate on the facts, and we must push on with the truth. What else can we do?
Yeah, and with resilience and with the rightness of our way. That's another thing.
That's right, that's right.
We have to remember that we're here for a reason. This is our ancient land. Here, it's not here in Canada, but back in the Holy Land. We are right in our way.
It's always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Same here.
It's an amazing movie.
Thank you.